Oh man. All right. So was it 11:23? Okay, so today what I wanted to do was I wanted to do a quick tutorial on how I made the teleportation effect panel. So let me get my computer up and running. There we go. All right. So kind of get the formalities out the way. Hopefully, if you guys are seeing this video, good grief, where's my volume at? Okay. All right. Hopefully, you guys seeing this video that you will like it. Liking the video tells the YouTube guys that I'm a likable guy and to show my videos to other people. So please do that. And if you really like the video, then also subscribe. Once again, subscribing and liking is really the lifeblood of these channels like mine. Let's pull up Clip Studio real quick. Still doing that. I'm probably gonna have to reload this. Just so you know, my name's David Gordon, better known as DKG72. That's the channel that you're watching. And what we're going to do today is I'm just going to go over the effect that I did in one of the slides or panels for Zero G, and that effect was the matter transporter effect that I did, because I just think it would be fun to just kind of go over that. So I'm gonna open up OBS. I'm gonna take off all the effects. We're gonna go get rid of that, and we're gonna go to the original file. Open that up, take that down, and we're gonna bring back the first thing. So the first thing that I did, and I'm actually gonna intersperse some of the time lapse of this happening. The reason I want to go through it kind of slowly, because that time lapse really kind of just speed ramps through everything, so you really can't see all the intricacies of what's happening. With this particular illustration, I knew I wanted to create an effect that was interesting and visually just kind of different. And I just kept thinking about the matter transporter effects that would see on shows like Star Trek and things like that. And I just kept wondering, well, how could I kind of represent that in a digital work of art? So one of the first things I did, obviously, is that you got to frame the scene. So basically, in this scene, I frame them in I guess you would call that if you were going by the rule of thirds, then this would be the right hand third of the page. So, and in that way, the audience eyes would track this way. But just because that's how I wanted them to kind of track, just kind of see the effect, and then they would track to everybody's reaction. So we have different characters reacting to them showing up, and then we have them actually transporting in. So again, so just from thinking about that particular drawing, I thought about just the framing of the shot and how I wanted everybody to fall in place. So I know I wanted them on this side of the panel, the right hand side, and then I wanted everything to move towards the left, which is a little counterintuitive because normally we read left to right. But in a visual comic like this, or a visual or a cartoon or something like that, you kind of have that, freedom to do a little bit more of a framing, and you can do it in comics as well. But honestly, you get way more freedom, I think, just to kind of frame things. Also, because we're working at this different aspect ratio in comics. You can create different panels. You can have long, skinny panels that are vertical, and you don't always have to have these horizontal panels. Whereas with me creating this content to go specifically on YouTube so that it can appear on your television in 4K and all that good stuff, we're at that what's that resolution, 1080 by 1920 resolution. So that's basically a big rectangle. um, and it presents its own challenges, because you're like, okay, well, I can only fit so much information. Well, not so much information, but like, I can only fit characters within this. So it determines how you create your shot, right? Um, is it a long shot? Is it a close up? How are these shots kind of monitored and regulated? So that's the first thing. But let's get to the effect. So the first thing I did, obviously, was I drew the characters, and just made sure that I had them exactly where I wanted them to be. But I stopped at just doing the artwork, the pencil art first, because I wanted to get an idea of kind of what I was going to do for the effects. So then what I did was I drew in these vertical lines in blue, on a separate layer. And I did that just to kind of give myself a reminder of what it was that I was trying to accomplish with this effect. So the original, when you look at the original time lapse, you're going to see that I drew the characters, and then I drew the blue lines, and then I put the airbrushed the glow on them, and then um, I think that was a separate layer, and then I just put them together. Just merged them together. I'm not sure, or I might have just did the airbrush over the original lines. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at it again to remember. But that was basically just a reminder. And then honestly, I would just, once that layer was set up and everything, I would just, you know, turn off the little eye so it wasn't visible. And then I would go ahead and go to the rest of coloring the artwork. Well, so I'm sorry. I would first go and then I would ink the artwork. Now the thing about this is that when I ink, I always ink with the vector line, or the vector layer in Clip Studio, because just the line is so sharp and crisp and beautiful, and you have the ability to manipulate it as well. So I'm always inking, or doing my ink on the vector layer. The pen that I use is the G pen. I just switch up the line weights and everything like that. And then if I do see some things that maybe I want to, like maybe I see a line weight, but I think it needs to be a little bit fatter. What I'll do, and that's the cool thing about the vector layer, is that you can go to this tool, and it's the correct line tool in Clip Studio. And with the correct line tool, if you choose it, then I choose adjust line width right here. And then I will, go down here, and then I can say, hey, I could scale up with width, right? So that means that if I were to, let's just do it, because we can always undo. We don't have to save none of this. If I were to say, for instance, hey, that line right here looks to be a little too thin for my liking. I can then say, okay, well, we're going to scale up with width, right? And then what I'm going to do is make sure that the brush that I'm using is the right size brush. See, that's a 40% brush. I want to use a 40% brush. We only need like a 12. And then I just go, okay, let's go this line right here and let's just scale it up a little bit. And this will fatten that line up. Or I can go right here. Like that shoulder needs a little bit more oomph. Because we're on the vector layer, the lines, are these vector points. So we're allowed to do things like just expand them a little bit or shrink them down. Because I can also say, hey, let me see here. I need something. I need to kind of counter that with a little thinness. So go right here. So go to the scale down with width choice, and then let's see. We're going to go to. I like to always go to the brush properties, and then choose the brush, and then let me just scale that down. And if you notice, whenever I use this tool, it kind of gets this green thing. Green, like if I put it at 50 points, you can really see it. See that green? Um, that's that's just the indicator light of what's happening when you are making those types of changes using that tool. So again, what you're going to do is it's called the correct line tool. It's normally like right at the bottom of your tools here on the left hand side, right above your color palettes. So you can, you see which palette that you're working with. So just one of the cool things I learned, something. This is a trick that I learned. I was watching a YouTube video, the Starfish Face. Go check her out. Really cool YouTuber. It's actually who I got the coloring process that I've been using and just kind of making my own from. She hit me to this tool, and it has come in so handy, so handy. So once we've got the inks in, then obviously we put a raster layer below, and we add in color, right? Now normally I would then come back with another layer to add in shadows and maybe some highlights and everything like that. But I knew I was going to be creating a special effect, so I didn't do that. What I did do was I put everything into its own folder, its own layer folder. Then I copied that layer folder. And then what I did was the copied version of that layer folder, I then merged that copied folder into its own, just one singular layer. And then at that point, I added a motion blur to that particular layer. So now you have this sitting on top of them, the regular one. So, and the reason I did that is I didn't want to work with. I wanted to work in a non-destructive manner, so I did not want to, just flatten, just merge the folder that I have. I wanted to keep that separate, so if I wanted to make changes or say, I do want to add shadows or something like that, I had that right to do it. So now I can work non-destructively because I made the copy, then I merged that folder together, and then I did threw all the blurs and stuff onto that. So then I did a motion blur, and that particular blur, we set it, I think, at a 45 degree, or no, it was a 0 degree angle, just so it looked like they were shimmering into place. Now you throw back on the vertical lines with the glow, and then what I did was on another layer under the vertical lines, but above the copied layer, I then took the airbrush tool and I went to droplets. And I think I set that at I think I did it at like 50, maybe at 100 just the brush size. And what I did was I just took those droplets and then I just airbrushed them all over the artwork, and that really worked out because then it kind of created this static look, like they were really being digitized, and then this kind of gave the impression that they were being just dropped in front of the the crowd or other people. So that was how this particular effect was done. And I say all that to say this: the reason why it was so much fun creating this effect and doing all of these things was because it just gave me a chance to experiment and just try some things and find out what worked, what didn't work. If I were to do it over again, I might not have gone as crazy with the droplet brush. I think I went a little too crazy because it's really washing out Raven over here in the far right corner. But it's cool. It works out really well. But other than that, I think it really worked. And leaving the colors flat really still gives it this sense that they're not fully formed dimensionally, that they're coming back to us. So I think that was a really cool project, part of the project. So but that was it. That's the tutorial, guys. So that was basically my thought process, how I went through it, how I went through the inks, the pencils, just thinking the whole way through, even kind of how I wanted to frame that shot. And thinking in the rules of thirds and everything like that, because if you look, then you see where everybody else falls. They kind of fall on the other side of that grid. So if you were to let's just put a layer over here real quick. So if you were to, and we'll do this, I think, yeah, cool. All right. So rule of thirds, and let's turn that red. Let's go with a pen. All right. So rule of thirds is basically, oops, if you were to cut, yeah, right here, yeah. So yeah, so that pretty much. So if you look and just look at the example that they're given, this literally is kind of the rule of thirds in action. So basically, you have Zarya and Raven materializing onto this right hand third of the page, but then they're kind of bleeding into the middle third, and then we have the reactions of Dr. Chen, the mother, the Yabio, on the left hand third of the page, and then you kind of blend from there. So that really, again, I could just follow over from this, from the effect to this, or if you're going to read left to right, you're still going to get it because you're like, okay, they're all shocked, they're like looking like, what the hell? And then you see this. So either way, it reads pretty well. And again, that's what just kind of that thinking, that rule of thirds thinking, gets you, and why it's so important. So hope this helped out. Hope this gives you a good idea of my thoughts, just my thoughts in how I think about creating these panels and these slides and everything like that. And hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, if you do, please let YouTube know that you guys like me. And please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. So until tomorrow, talk to y'all later. Peace.